Hey, hey, hey. Happy holidays. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch, hopefully, is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. What is this, our fourth try at this tonight? Fingers crossed. I've got my fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm sure we've lost probably 90% of the people who are going to hang out for tonight's 1000th episode. Yes. Well, okay. To be honest, it's not exactly the 1000th episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, but it is live stream 1000 here on the channel. So welcome aboard. Tonight is December 19th, 2023. Yes. And as I mentioned, this is live show number 1000. So also should point out that this is hopefully, if we can keep this stream going, will be an example of what you'll find starting in January with the Gaming Gang Dispatch, as I will be bringing you the latest in tabletop gaming news and talking about what's going on in the hobby. We are no longer going to be featuring live first looks on the Gaming Gang Dispatch, at least for January. I just want to see how doing the live show, just doing news and then doing first looks at games, it's usually role-playing game stuff, as separate videos. I want to see how those are going to work. But I can tell you, if you're not overly familiar with this show, it's pretty casual around here. So we're certainly not engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Anywho, so welcome aboard. Should point out that this is, gosh, like the fourth or fifth time I've tried to get this stream going tonight. We've had some power outages. Now, the last time, that was actually a program crash. So I got my fingers crossed that hopefully it did not corrupt the program, the OBS studio that I use to do the stream when we had those outages. So I figured, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take it from the top of the show and go from there. Hey, so, you know, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, this is a live show. So that means there is chat available, although I'd say, like I said, probably 90% of the people who are going to hang in chat tonight said, I had enough of this. So, and they packed it up. Anyway, there is chat available. And let's see. I got to point out that you must be a subscriber to the channel to take part in chat. And you must be a subscriber for at least 48 hours before you're able to take part in chat. But first out the gate this time around is Roger Perdome. Wraithing is with us, as is Brian Gronberg. And Matthew Constantine has jumped back in. Kevin King is also hanging out with us tonight. So Rating says juddering again. Now I do see that we did hit a point where we dropped some frames. So what I'm going to go in and I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to try something here. Now I am going to point out, if this drops again, that will be it for tries tonight. Worst case scenario, like I said, I'm a little concerned that the last time was actually the program crashing. So I got my fingers crossed on that. But if for some reason, if this drops again, then I'll be back tomorrow to do the show. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop down the quality. Shouldn't be too big of a change. But I am going to drop it down a little bit and see what we get now. See if it smooths out. But yeah, I noticed it's kind of jumping up and down all over the place, which I really do think is a YouTube thing. Because if you were watching, I don't know, what, the second attempt at doing this, I checked for a lost packet test and everything was fine. So on my end, at least, the interwebs are working properly. Marius Smith is with us, as is Flaming Huron, Coco B, and Testy Trekkie. So I am, once again, as I mentioned, taking this from the top. Let's jump right on into the tabletop gaming news, because you have only until Friday to back Tiny Epic Cthulhu from Gamelyn Games. And here is the skinny. Tiny Epic Cthulhu is a 45-minute, 1-to-4 player cooperative game that will immerse players in a world of spinning madness. Players take the roles of unique characters residing in a cold, forgotten island town off the coast of 1920s New Arkham. However, all is not well in this seemingly peaceful town. Cosmic horrors are emerging from the dense sea fog, plunging the once sleepy town into a state of chaos. As players navigate through the game, they must work together to translate the Necronomicon, unveil the Great Old One, and seal the portals to banish the impending horror back into the cosmic realm. To achieve this, players must tap into the madness that surrounds the town, using it to translate pages, battle against shamblers, and prevent locations from succumbing to pure horror. The cusp of madness gives players benefits like more movement, stronger attacks, and cosmic intellect. However, they must be cautious not to push their own minds too far, as the line between sanity and madness is a delicate one. In this game, madness is a valuable resource that can be used to translate pages and enhance player abilities, but excessive madness can lead to defeat. The pressure to save the town is felt from the very first spin. Tiny Epic Cthulhu offers a tense and engaging gameplay experience featuring innovative bag building and push-your-luck mechanics. It includes a surprising component, a spinner! The horror! Which perfectly captures the essence of Lovecraftian madness and chaos. All right, I guess if you say so. While still maintaining the strategic elements that players have come to expect from the Tiny Epic series. Each player will need to utilize their special powers, make use of the unique actions available in the town, and carefully manage their own madness. With its compact box and easy-to-understand rules, Tiny Epic Cthulhu offers meaningful decisions and layered strategies that will capture and captivate players. Will capture your imagination. It is a thrilling addition to the Tiny Epic series, providing an exciting and immersive gaming experience. All right, so there is a short, just under 3-minute Kickstarter video from Gamelyn Games. Let's give it a peek.
Tiny Epic Cthulhu is an immersive and thrilling game that will take players on a captivating journey through the chilling lore and horror of Lovecraft. This game, designed for 1 to 4 players, offers an enthralling cooperative experience that can be enjoyed in an hour or less. In Tiny Epic Cthulhu, players embark on a crucial mission to save the town of New Arkhemore from plunging into madness. This thrilling game requires strategic thinking, clever utilization of asymmetrical abilities, and the harnessing of the powers found in different town locations. The gameplay centers on the utilization of the versatile Madness Spinner, which introduces an element of chaos and disseminates madness across the town. This spinner controls the movements of horrific shamblers, polychromatic madness tentacles, the Great Old One, and more. The pointer on the spinner indicates one of 10 possible effects, along with the corresponding location that will be impacted by the madness tentacles. On the opposite side of the spinner lies the tentacle, which not only determines the specific type of shambler that will inhabit the town card, but also influences the movement of the Great Old One. Players are tasked with skillfully managing their emotions of fear, rage, greed, and chaos on their individual player boards, while avoiding the peril of succumbing to madness by recklessly pushing the boundaries of their own emotional limits. In order to seal the Necronomicon and prepare for the ultimate confrontation with the Great Old One, players must collaborate to translate ancient pages, banish menacing shamblers, and collect powerful runes. In the end, players will rely on these sacred runes to seal away the horrors of the Great Old Ones, ensuring the eternal protection of humanity from its malevolent influence. The thematic gameplay and Lovecraftian lore of Tiny Epic Cthulhu will transport players into a realm of unfathomable chaos and spine-chilling horror. This captivating game offers variable levels of difficulty, a diverse cast of characters, and a selection of great old ones that draw inspiration from the twisted mind of H.P. Lovecraft himself. Each playthrough promises a unique and enthralling experience that will leave players spellbound. Make sure to include the Cult of Chaos expansion, where players engage in a thrilling battle against the enigmatic cultists. Your objective is to triumph over their malevolent rituals, unleashing the Great Old One and thwarting their wicked scheme to annihilate the world. Unleash your power to vanquish the realm of chaos and horror by pledging your support and acquiring a copy of Tiny Epic Cthulhu. Each pledge plays a vital role in bringing the Tiny Epic series to life. Don't wait. Join us and become a backer today.
Tiny Epic Cthulhu is, once again, for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around 45 minutes. This Kickstarter project has passed the 2,000% funding mark. Yes, you heard that correctly. And you can reserve a copy of the base game for a $25 pledge through December 22nd. Expected delivery is next November. Now, for $5 more, you can get the deluxe edition, and there are some additional pledge levels as well. As you saw, there's an expansion you can add to it. So quite a bit cooking with Tiny Epic Cthulhu. Tessie Trekkie asks if I am stubborn. Yes, in many ways, I am a stubborn one. On to some role-playing game news, because Monte Cook Games and Bundle of Holding have teamed for a couple of money-saving Numenera offers. Here's the deets on the first deal. Explorer! We've resurrected our September 2021 Numenera Discovery Bundle with PDFs of, you guessed it, Numenera, the Monte Cook Games science fantasy tabletop role-playing game of discovery and destiny in a 9th world, a billion years away. Numenera is about exploration in the far future. There have been 8 worlds before ours. The people of the 9th world suffered through a dark age, an era of isolation and struggle, in the shadow of civilization's millennia gone. But a new age dawns. Brave explorers who discover and master the works of the past worlds, the Numenera, can unlock new powers and abilities, defend the weak, bolster the sick and starving, build a community, and perhaps bring a greater destiny to a struggling world. For just $19.95, you'll get all 9 titles in the Discovery Collection, which has a retail value of $93, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete full-color 418-page Numenera Discovery Core Book, plus the Player's Guide, Character Portfolio, and many freebies. The Priests of the Eons Character Book, the Ninth World Guidebook, Technology Compendium, Sir Arthur's Guide to the Numenera, maps of the Ninth World 1 and 2, and full-color character and creature stand-ups, or standees, or figure flats, whatever you'd like to call them. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $35.44, you'll level up and also get the entire Destiny collection, with 11 more titles worth an additional $146, including the 418-page Numenera Destiny Core Book, the Building Tomorrow campaign expansion, the Ninth World Bestiary, Bestiary 2, and Bestiary 3. Location Source Book, Voices of the Datasphere, the massive 2-part campaign, Slaves of the Machine God, an anthology of instant adventures, Explorer Keys, and 3 Ninth World adventures, forgetting Doomsday, The Thief, The Clave, and The Ultimatum, and Shadewalker. These savings will run through January 10th. 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to Direct Relief. All right, Sarah D had popped in to say howdy. She is rocking on out because, yes, we're about an hour behind where we would normally be. I would normally be wrapping this up, I would think. But because of the power outages and then the program crash, So happy holidays to everybody who's like popped in and popped back out. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, seeing that I will not be back streaming again until January 2nd. We'll talk about that in just a bit. So, smashing deal on Numenera here. So if you've got any interest in checking this out, this is the 2nd edition, obviously enough. There is another bundle of holding which has newer content that is also out there. I will have a news piece about that. It'll either be tomorrow or day after tomorrow, because normally what I do is, if you're familiar with the show, I post the news from the show the following day on the website. So just because I won't be doing live streams until January 2nd does not mean you will not find news pieces on thegaminggang.com, as well as seeing more videos pop up here on the channel. It just won't be live. All right, moving right along. Arriving tomorrow from WizardThiefFighter Studio and Exalted Funeral is SDM Magitechnica Codex 1, the use and misuse of powers great and small for ultraviolet, grasslands, and the Black City. Say that 5 times fast. I dare you to say it 1 time fast. Here's the scoop. SDM Magitechnica Codex 1, the use and misuse of powers great and small, is a volume of powers and rules and spells for use with the synthetic Dream Machine role-playing system and the UVG Undying Earth trail setting. Loosely compatible with most OSR role-playing games that use levels, or hit dice, as some named them, and life scores, or hit points, as the ancients knew them. It includes a cutaway map of the ship tower Haruspex, captained by the wizard Vorus, for when you need a fantasy Sorciencer's tower. It's also in high resolution. 25 magitechnical powers and 4 albums, including the Blood Bullet Gung Fu of the Viridian Practice and the travel powers of the Dawn's Highway. Original and reused illustrations by the author. Purportedly, some are rather nice. Cryptic in-world fictions, terrible purple prose, just the way you like it. Rules for using powers fueled by characters' lives or hit points. Mechanics for creating new powers. Corruption tables for mutating characters when they misuse powers are also included. This 48-page A5 softcover with PDF will be available tomorrow over on Exalted Funeral, and it's going to carry an MSRP of $15, or if you'd like to grab just the PDF, you'll be able to do so for $6.99. I would love to check out the second edition of Ultraviolet Grasslands and the Black City. Let's not forget the Black City. I've not had an opportunity to take a peek. Have not checked it out. And this is, of course, from that author for UVG. So this is not a third-party supplement. This is Luca, I believe his last name is pronounced Rakic. So very, very nice. Old Slimy is with us in chat. I believe this might be a first-time visit for Old Slimy. So Flaming Huron has joined us. Did I say hello to Flaming Huron already? I don't know. It's with the starts and stops. I don't know who I said hello to, who I haven't said hello to. Looks like we lost the madman for tonight, which I can understand. All righty then. So I'm going to continue with the tabletop gaming news in just a moment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time. Time for that stretch you've been wanting. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now.
If anybody loves trains, it's me, Johnny Cash. You know, if your boy's under 10 like mine is, he needs a big Lionel like this Black River Freight. Lionel also makes HO gauge trains for older kids, like this Burlington 181. But for smaller hands, the big Lionel is easier to handle and put on the track. This Christmas, get your boy a train that's built for the way young boys play. A big, rugged Lionel. Lionel, the big train for small hands.
Christmas is just $1.25 at your Goodyear service store and most Goodyear dealers. You want to hurry, because this is one memory that won't last forever.
Have a cup of Wilkins instant coffee? Wild horses couldn't make me. Okay, give me a cup.
Christmas is a time for closeness, and closeness is what Norelco razors are all about. The shiny new silver rotary razors in cord and rechargeable models with 36 blades, 9 closeness settings, and no gotchas. And the Ladybugs, the ladies' razors that really work. And the Ladybug Salon, a ladybug razor plus 11 grooming attachments. Norelco, even our name says Merry Christmas.
Wonkins lives! Come on, I wasn't going to share my final live stream before Christmas and have Wonkins die. Come on! So I have to ask, How many of you out there, because I know many of you watch, we're around the same age. How many of you out there remember places like Goodyear stores where around the holidays, they would have those albums to get you to come in to buy them. So, maybe they could convince you into getting some new tires. I remember that. Gas stations was another thing, like 76 stations and things like that. They would have, come in and get the Christmas cassette or album. And it was just a way to try to get you to come to their, gas station or what have you. Ichiban is with us again. Welcome back. Hopefully we get an entire show out of this so far. So far, so good. All right, back to the news. Monomyth Publishing has released the Mirkbirg-fueled Castaway role-playing game. Here's what I know. Castaway is a standalone shipwreck survival horror OSR tabletop role-playing game compatible with the award-winning instant cult classic tabletop RPG, Mirkbirg. Or as you like to say, Morkborg. Now, Morkborg is not required to play, but this is an amazing book. So maybe you want to pick it up. And of course, talking about Morkborg. Personally, I think it's fine. I honestly think the books that have come out that have been built on Morkborg are far better, like Cyborg, Pirateborg. Yeah. Castaways are unfortunate lost souls stranded on a far-off island, but they aren't the only ones who now call the island home. With rules for exposure, building shelters, crafting, hunting, gathering, debilitating ailments, escape plans, an island weather system, a menagerie of wildlife and monsters, and mysterious island encounters, players will have to fight tooth and nail, exploring the harsh island environment to survive against the odds. The 98-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $40. Gotta say, it is on sale right now for $35. Or you can grab just the PDF for $20. Gotta say, this looks mighty interesting. Ichiban is rocking on out. Thank you very much for popping back in. Happy holidays to you, and I will see you next year. Hopefully. So anyway, this looks pretty cool. Pretty cool. So by all means, check it out. And it is not from Free League Publishing. It is from Monomyth Publishing. So there is that. My final news piece, the Return to Dark Tower fantasy role-playing release is now available in print and PDF. And I've got the latest from Level 9 Games. Return to Dark Tower fantasy role-playing is an officially licensed, complete fantasy RPG based on the hit board game Return to Dark Tower by Restoration Games, and inspired by the original Dark Tower board game from the 1980s. Powered by Polymorph and compatible with 9th Level Games award-winning Mazes fantasy role-playing, which I reviewed. Excellent. Very, very good. The Return to Dark Tower role-playing game brings dark pulp-inspired storytelling and fast action to the table with modern role-playing rules built on very deep roots. This deluxe gold-stamped hardcover includes 208 full-color pages of content, everything you need to make characters and run games, plus details on how you can use components from Return to Dark Tower, the board game, to enhance your role-playing experience. This 208-page hardcover is available now, carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $25. Cool. So my understanding is this is kind of a pulpy swords and sorcery sort of role-playing game that uses some of the creatures and things like that from Return to Dark Tower. And The polymorph system, super, super easy. Just roll in one single die. One single die is really how your character is represented. And it could be a 4-sided die all the way up to a 10-sided die. All depends on the character class. So, very nice. Very nice. Matthew Constantine says, for true horror, they should have done Swept Away. Who's going to play Madonna? The horror. The horror. Fleming Heron said, had never heard of the Return to Dark Tower board game. I knew somebody who had that back in, when I want to say, I guess it would have been high school. Although, strangely enough, I thought it came out like 1980. But I guess maybe it was either high school or maybe it was somebody that I was still friends with from grammar school when I was in high school. And I was not impressed because at that point in time, I was already playing Avalon Hill games, playing role-playing games. And to me, I don't know, Dark Tower is sort of like, nah. So there is that. All right, so that was it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget the Dispatch, as well as the Gaming Gang itself, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, any of the One Bookshelf sites, please stop by at thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, even though it's like the 4th or 5th time I've tried to get this video out there tonight, knock on wood. I'm not saying anything to jinx it. Anyway, be sure to give this video a quick thumbs up. But if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, by all means, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. And I do want to mention, very recently, Kevin King and the Madman both stopped by paypal.me/thegaminggang and made not small donations. So very nice. Daryl Errett is with us. I believe this might be a first-time visit for Daryl. Welcome aboard. I don't think I said hello to Brian Gronberg again. I saw he rejoined us as well. Points out his father and he played a few of the Avalon Hill classics. Panzer Leader, Third Reich, Afrika Korps, Squad Leader, Gettysburg, Chancellorsville, etc. Boy, those are all Avalon Hill classics. And a wide swath there from Gettysburg, which I believe was their first game. Or was it the second? Maybe Tactics was their first game. Maybe it was. If Gettysburg wasn't their first, it was their second. I know that for a fact. And they actually had billboards for the Gettysburg game. Pretty amazing. That was back early 60s. Kevin King says the commercial for the Dark Tower was a lot better than the game. Kathy Evans is with us tonight. So it looks like we've got a few of us popping on in once again to join us. So that is the tabletop gaming news of the day. That is pretty much the format you're going to see going forward with episode 1001 of the Gaming Gang Dispatch. And then after the news, if anything's cooking in the world of tabletop gaming, I might tackle that, talk about that a little bit. But we are going to be looking at far shorter durations than what we've seen with the first look videos being included. So, because most of the time those run an hour and a half, sometimes longer than that. I know that turns off a lot of people. So what I'm looking to do is just change things up for a month. We'll see what's going on. Change it up for about a month and see if maybe we get a few more viewers for not only the live show, but also for the first looks that I do as well. James Eck has joined us again. Give it another shot. Yes. So Brian also points out, yes, definitely a huge range of difficulty. I was going to point that out as well, such as like Squad Leader versus Third Reich, Afrika Korps versus Panzer Leader. Yeah, Panzer Leader is, well, I got to point out, it's been a long, long time since I played Afrika Korps. Maybe that would be the lowest of the complexities. Squad Leader, probably running neck and neck with Third Reich as far as some of the more difficult or higher complexity games out there. Matthew points out an obscure Avalon Hill game that he and his dad played was Source of the Nile. I had Source of the Nile. I remember really liking it and finally tracked down a copy. They haven't played it yet. I know Legion War Games made a game that was kind of like an homage to Source of the Nile. So I heard that was pretty good. We play a lot of B-17, Queen of the Skies. So that was something. And we would actually play like Elliot and I would both play like with our bombers and that in the same game, which there were some rules for that. It's one of those games that, you know, looking back on with the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia, it's a better game then than it is now. So, because the reality is all you were doing was rolling on all these charts. That was basically about it. And rolling a six-sided die to hit the fighters coming in, trying to take you out. But all in all, we still liked it. It was pretty cool. All right, so as I had mentioned, what I was planning on doing tonight is a bit of an AMA. I have had some folks send emails in asking some questions, and then, of course, I'll take some questions from chat as well. I do want to mention Owen from Wales sent me a very nice email. Thank you very kindly. Really weren't any questions in it, but they were pointing out how much they enjoy the show and they appreciate that, yes, I actually am a reviewer. I just don't do like, you know, promotional videos for everything and pretend that they're videos that are reviews. Yeah, you know how that is these days. Anyway, don't get me started. So I'm going to dive on into some of the questions, and we'll do this for a little bit. I would have actually gone much longer with this portion of the video if we hadn't screwed around for about an hour. Owen Thomas is joining us. First time in chat. It says, first time I've managed to watch the show live, doing it being 2:30 a.m. now, despite being a regular viewer. In light of the power outages, I can't help to think I might have jinxed it. No, you didn't jinx it. You didn't jinx it. In fact, the last time it crapped out had nothing to do with the power. So, of course, you know, I did a reboot and everything else. So, anyway, so far so good. Like I said, knock on wood. All right, so one of the first questions I got is asking, how's my dad doing? Because you probably recall it was a couple years now, almost a couple years, since he had triple bypass, which I had almost 3 years ago. Yee-hee. So there are 6 bypasses in this house. So he's doing about as well as an 87-year-old man can do. So, you know, one of the reasons why I'm here is because I, you know, keep an eye on my dad. I don't, he would not like me to be like, oh, well, I took care of my dad. Because I, you know, but yeah. So he's doing well. He's doing far better than, you know, a lot of people who got to his age or didn't get to his age. He does have an aneurysm, though, that they keep an eye on all the time. So there is that. And of course, he's 87 years old. So forgets things and stuff like that. But, so far, he's ahead of the game. Or as my dad likes to say, he's on the right side of the grass. So there is that. Another question was, how am I doing? I'm doing fine. I'm doing all right. Yeah, taking my meds, all that other stuff. I have lost some weight. In fact, I had mentioned this on one of the live shows, how my general practitioner was very happy, said I had lost like 16 pounds since the last time I had been there. I don't feel like I've lost 16 pounds, but my goal is to get to 200 pounds. I'm at 210 right now. So that is the goal at some point. And I don't mean to, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh yeah, in February. No, that's just the goal next year is to get to about 200. The lightest I've ever been is about 186. And that was quite a few years ago. I was in my early 30s and spent a lot of time on my feet. Royce is joining us in chat. Welcome aboard. So said they just got an appendectomy today. So good time for some easy YouTube watching. Yes, I will make sure not to have you go through any like physical exertion as you watch the show. So there will be no yoga moves that I ask anybody watching to take part in. So hopefully a very speedy recovery for you, Royce. And thanks a bunch for popping on in. Flaming Heron says, I do look better. Not to say I looked bad before. Hey, I say it all the time. I got a face for radio and a voice for television. I get it. I understand that. Okay. Another question. What does a normal day consist of when I share an episode of The Dispatch? Usually up at about 9:30 in the morning. That's when I'm up for the day. I'm usually up before that. But like up for the day is about 9:30 a.m. Grab some coffee, take care of the cats. And yes, Lala and Mango are doing great. So they're two little bundles of love and pains in the asses at the same time, which all cats are. So you know how that is. Roger Perdome says that about 2 years ago, they were at 283 pounds, now down to about 235. Fantastic. That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Carrying weight around is not good. And one of my pet peeves, and I really don't talk about this during the shows, but it drives me nuts that we see all these commercials. And I'm not a slim guy. Don't get me wrong. But we get all these commercials now with these obese people in the commercials as if, hey, you know what? That's all right. That's okay. And I'm not looking to fat shame anybody, but you got to be an idiot to think that if someone is obese, they're in great health. That's not the case. You can be overweight and be healthy. That is true. But we see all these commercials where it's like, I mean, and these people are really big. And it's sort of like, I see it all the time with all the like the diabetic medicines and stuff, the Ozempics and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, oh, well, hey, don't worry about exercise and eating right. Well, just take these drugs. So, want to point out, I will get to some of the questions in chat in just a bit, but I had asked previously for people to send in questions, email them, so I could tackle some of those. So that's what I'm going to take on right now. So anyway, so I get up and I check my email, see if there's anything interesting that I want to utilize as a news piece. And then if I haven't encountered anything in the morning that really jumps out, then I will go and actively search out some news to be able to include on the show. So I do that, and then once I've done that, I do my non-related stuff. So for my dad, and run out and do stuff, and we've had a bunch of stuff going on here as of late. So we've had the water heater. We're having problems with that. Had a problem with one of the sinks. So all that stuff as well. Flaming Heron says they emailed me quite late. I did see them and I did have them. But with all the crashes that have been going on, the outages and stuff, I did not grab them again. I do kind of remember some of them. So I will tackle a little bit of that. Got to point out, I can't answer everybody's question tonight or questions tonight simply because, I have to wrap up at some point. So anyway, so that's really kind of the extent of things. Usually have dinner around 5:30, which normally will leave me some time to come downstairs and get everything set up as far as getting ready for the show. I do all like the images and stuff like that. That's all in the morning. Or if I'm getting a jump on things, sometimes at night, maybe I'll be listening to an audiobook or just have a documentary or a movie or something like that on, and I'll be working on the news for the following day, because every once in a while I've got tons of news and I kind of stretch it out. So what was the funniest thing which ever happened around the game table while playing Call of Cthulhu? So this is Massive Nyarlathotep. So when it came out, so what are we talking, 83? 83-ish, which would have made me 16, I think. 15, maybe. So anyway, so I'm running it for my best friend, Elliot, and another good friend of mine, Ed, and Elliot's nephew, Paul, who was also a good friend of mine. And he was like 2 years younger than Elliot, because Elliot was one of those, ooh, look what happened kind of babies. So his brothers and sister were quite a bit older than him. So his nephew was only like 2 years younger. So anyway, Paul would have a habit of, and it would be every session, and we played long sessions. It was not unusual during the summer for us to start playing around like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'd maybe be wrapping up to go to sleep at 3 a.m. I mean, we would take breaks to go eat and stuff like that. We weren't like, strapped to the table or chained to the chair or anything like that. So anyway, so Paul had this thing where, he would kind of get, because he was younger, and, he wanted more action and stuff like that. He would get kind of antsy at the table. So I had learned early on to indulge him for about 30 minutes every few hours, where it was essentially Paul time. And Elliot and Ed were fine with that. They were, they understood too. So anyway, so it's the New York portion of Massive Nyarlathotep, and they're getting ready to go to England. And for whatever reason, Paul decides he's off on his own doing his thing. So he goes to Penn Station, Union Station, whatever it is at that point in time. And he wants to book a train to London from New York. So, of course, the, ticket cashier or whatever was like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? He's like, yeah, and it was like real, like brusque and, stupid ass, I want this. I want a ticket to London. So, yeah, of course, obviously, the game takes place in the late 1920s or whatever, mid 1920s. And he says, okay, yeah, I can do that. It'll only be like $1,000 or something like that. And of course, Paul's character always carries all his money on him. And he's like, oh, okay, that's fine. So he pays him. He says, okay, so the ticket seller says, okay, I have to go and print this up special for you. Of course, he disappears. And Paul waits and waits and waits. And he's like, what the hell's going on? Where is this guy? So he starts creating a scene. And somebody comes over and asks him what is the problem? He's like, oh, I'm waiting for my ticket to London and blah, blah. We're like, ticket to London? How can a train travel to London? Train can't travel across the Atlantic. So then he's like, his character freaks out. So he gets arrested and they ended up throwing him, in the loony bin. So now he's in the loony bin. And of course, now he's ticked off that he's, screwed things up and figures, okay, well, now, because Paul would go through characters left and right. They'd get killed all the time for a variety of different things. So he's in this padded room and he's got crayons and he's like, oh, I'm going to eat the crayons, poison myself. And I'm like, well, you eat the crayons and they're not toxic, so nothing happens. So finally he says, okay, so I'm gonna jump up on the bed, I'm gonna leap up in the air, and I'm gonna land on my head like a missile. That was the exact words. Land on my head like a missile. So at that point in time, I was like, okay, you know what? We're not gonna keep screwing around with this. So I let him do it. And it was like, okay, so you snapped your neck and bing, there, you're done. And then we took a few moments for him to roll up a new character, and then we were back to the actual adventure. So to this day, I can still joke with Ed and Elliot. I don't really talk to Paul. I haven't talked to Paul in years. And just out of the blue, just say, so I'm going to jump in the air and I'm going to land on my head. And the response is always like a missile. So that was probably the funniest thing that happened around the game table during a game of Call of Cthulhu. So I know Flaming Heron asked if I would reveal my favorite role-playing game releases of 2023. I got a video on the horizon. I'll be doing that, so I'm not going to share that information. Was curious what I felt was the worst role-playing game release of 2023. And I'll be honest, I really haven't given that a ton of thought, but I would probably say didn't Spelljammer come out this year, early this year? If not, then it would be Planescape. I would say, yeah, Planescape would be, in my opinion, from what I've seen and reviewed, Planescape would be my worst role-playing game release of 2023. Because, you know what? I disliked it more than I did Spelljammer. And I still thought Spelljammer was not any good either. So... Quantum Phase Dragon is with us in chat. Welcome. Firefly Oak is with us. Yes, thank you. They're both congratulating me on 1,000 live streams. Thank you very much. Very cool. So let's see. trying to remember what Flaming Huron hit me up with one or two other questions you had. So I did have somebody ask if I had any advice for first-time dungeon masters and or game masters. And what I would say is, now, I did start a series that was, so you want to be a game master. So I have a few videos for that. I didn't continue it because it wasn't pulling in a lot of views. Speaking of shows, though, I am still going to do my Paizo previews, why you should play, stuff like that. That just kind of fell to the wayside. Number one, why you should play fell to the wayside, mainly because of the laptop fiasco. I shouldn't say fiasco, the laptop issue. And then the Paizo previews, I haven't done one since September because I hadn't received anything since September. So I should hopefully have a Paizo preview for December with the latest chapter of the Season of Ghosts. And there's also a couple of flip mats and the Rage of Elements spell cards. So I'll be sharing that before the new year. So we will have that. Brian Grunberg says Spelljammer came out in late 2022. All right, there you go. Roger Perdome mentioned that too. So the advice I would have for dungeon masters and game masters, I would have two main pieces of advice. The first being, don't worry about the rules. Have an idea how the core system works, how the core mechanics for action resolution work, and go from there. You do not need to know the ins and outs of every rule that's in a role-playing game before you can jump in and start enjoying it. So that is one of the first things I always point out. You know, rules be damned. Don't slow down the game looking up rules. So that is a big deal to me because for the most part, unless you're playing with people who are rules lawyers or fanatic min-maxers, people want to have a good time. They want to feel that their characters have been, you know, important pieces in the story and that they've had fun sitting around the table and they don't feel like they were ignored or anything like that. So be sure to keep your adventure flowing. Keep the game flowing. And if there's something that you don't know a rule to, just say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to make this call here. And then after we're done with this session, I will go double check, see what the rule says. And then from there on out, we'll use that rule. But to sit there and be like, oh yeah, hang on. That's just awful. Second piece of advice I would have is don't let your players walk all over you. It's really easy, especially when you're a new game master, to want to please the players at the table and just be handing out cool stuff, magic items, all that stuff. I can tell you right now that that'll probably work for a couple of sessions, and then it'll get to the point where it just came too easy. So everything that your player characters will be attempting to do will be super easy because you've given them all this overpowered cool stuff in the first place. Don't do that. So that is my second piece of advice. Don't sweat the rules and don't be a pushover with your players. Do not be afraid to say no to your players. Don't do it all the time, but, you know, be fair. Look to be fair, and you'd be surprised. You'd be really, really surprised that once you establish that you are a fair game master dungeon master, whatever you want to call it, keeper. Your game table should be, what would be the word that I would use? Pliant, I guess I'll say. Okay. Old Slimy asks, Jeff, have you looked into MCDM's RPG previews yet? No, I have not. I have not. They would love to see a deep review once it releases. Well, that's a ways off because I think it doesn't come out until 2025. So, sorry to say. I did hear from Kelsey, the author of Shadow Dark, and probably in January I'll be seeing that. Also, if you were kind of curious, how come you haven't seen any coverage of the Walking Dead universe from Free League Publishing? They, I guess, were having an issue getting stuff out. So backers, I believe, got it. So that is something else that's probably not going to arrive until January at some time. Brian Dronberg says, amazing. The setting book for Spelljammer 5e didn't have any real rules for space combat. Yes, that was ridiculous. And, you know, that Planescape adventure where you never visit another plane was absolutely fucking ridiculous. So, Tessie Trekkie says, Jeff, my emails were late too. So one question, what's my most prized RPG related item that I own? So Tessie Trekkie says, The Walking Dead universe is mine and it's gorgeous. I have the PDFs, but as you know, I don't dive into the PDFs. A lot of times what I'll do after I do a first look, I'll use the PDFs then to read through, but normally before I do a first look video, I don't peek at the PDFs at all. The only thing I usually do is just make sure that the file isn't corrupted or anything like that. So, speaking of, I have the contest winner for the Pathfinder player core for the remastered project, as well as the GM core. So you may have recalled that I did first look videos of both of these. I've reviewed the player core. The GM core review is on the horizon. But I had a contest for one lucky viewer to win, and that lucky viewer is Nick Fieldman. So, Nick, what you need to do is you need to shoot me an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com from the Gmail account that's associated with your YouTube. So for most people, it's the same thing. It's not different. It's just their Gmail is well, not all of them use their Gmail addresses as their username, but still, anyway. So there you go. Congratulations, Nick. Both these books, are going to be heading your way. So just make sure to give me your address. Something else I do want to point out, we're going to celebrate the 1000th live stream here on the Gaming Gang channel by giving you all a holiday gift. So yes, all this week has really been heavy into Pathfinder. I did the first look videos. I did the review for the player core book. I've got the review for chapter 2 of Season of Ghosts coming. I've got the Paizo preview, which might not be this week, but I'm going to try to get it out this week. So there is currently 2 bundles of holding going on. One is back by demand it was only for a couple of days. And it is something like, so you want to learn Pathfinder, or so you want to get into Pathfinder, and at the $5 level, They've got the core book. Now, remember, we're not talking about the remasters, right? But one of the things I mentioned in my review of the player core is check out the Humble Bundle that's going on over, obviously enough, at Humble Bundle if you're kind of up in the air about Pathfinder, because you can get on board really cheap and see, hey, you know what? Okay, I'm digging this. Okay, you know what? I am going to go pick up the remastered books, right? So this other Pathfinder bundle, all you got to do, send an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com from your email address that's associated with your YouTube. And if you are a subscriber to the Gaming Gang channel, because I will look. I have a way to pull up, see who the subscribers are. I will send you the $5 bundle for the Get Into Pathfinder bundle that ends tomorrow. Like I said, I think it was only for a couple of days they brought this back. And you have until 5 p.m. Central tomorrow to get that email to me, and I will give you that $5 bundle, which has the beginner box, the core book. It's got an introductory adventure. It's got the first bestiary. It is probably $100 worth of PDFs, thereabouts. I will give that to you for free, absolutely free, to introduce you to Pathfinder on my dime. So you got to do that by 5 p.m. tomorrow. And I will point out that I won't send that email out until tomorrow. So if you do email me and say, hey, Jeff, I want to get that Pathfinder bundle, and you don't hear from me tonight, do not worry. All right, I got you covered. Flaming Aaron says, I already got a copy from before, so congrats to all those to take advantage of it. It's great, even at the lowest level. Yes, it actually is, really is. So Kevin King says, yeah, they've got it already too, but it's a very nice bundle. Yeah, even for like the $5 level, I think it's 8 PDFs, if I remember correctly. And then I think it's, no, I think it's just the 8 PDFs. Now that I think about it. Mr. Underhill 40 is with us. It's been a while since we've seen Mr. Underhill 40. I think I've said hello to everybody tonight. If I have not, my apologies. All right, so I am going to I'll take 3 more questions from chat. So fire away. So Kevin King says, might be interested to hear an insightful review of Shadow Dark. Some seem to think it's a better rule set for Ravenloft than for 5e. I don't know. I am interested. I am curious. I am curious about it. So, and it was kind of funny because I had reached out, and I think her last name is Dion. Kelsey Dion had said, oh yeah, you know what? I know your channel. I know your YouTube channel. I've seen your videos. So I was like, oh, okay. Cause I had reached out, I think it was back in September, because I was interested in checking it out. So yes. So I reached out because I was pretty sure that the Kickstarter is starting to fulfill. And she got back to me and said, yes, once they get all the fulfillment done, they're going to send out some copies to some reviewers, and she'll be very happy to send mine my way. Fleming Aaron says, humble bundle, I believe, Jeff. Did I say bundle of holding? If I did, I apologize for that. Bundle of holding, he has cool bundles all the time. They aren't like the huge smashing deals that you get over on Humble Bundle, though. That is for certain. All right. Give it a couple more moments here if somebody wants to throw in. So Mr. Underhill 40 asks, I assume, any thoughts about Henry Cavill and Warhammer 40K? I guess it's a go-go that previously they had talked about doing it. And now, I guess, if I remember right, I think it's Amazon. The announcement was just made a couple days ago. Whoever it is, whatever streaming platform it is, said yes, that they now are in development with Games Workshop and Henry Cavill to do a Warhammer 40K TV show. So pretty wild. Flaming Heron asks, the RPG and tabletop game I'm looking forward to most in 2024. As far as board games, I don't know. You've seen it over the past couple of years. I've kind of segued more and more away from board games for a multitude of reasons. Number one, I don't have the opportunity to get together with people to play board games as often as we once did. Elliot's not available as often as he once was. There's been past, year and a half. There's always somebody sick over at Elliot's house. And usually it's Elliot. So there is that. But, so let's see. Role-playing game releases of 2024. There's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon coming from our friends over at Free League Publishing. So that's pretty obvious. Not everything's been announced, but I did get a list from my PR contact who's super cool, really cool person. And it was a list of, for one, it was a list of everything that came out this year, and they wanted to make sure that I had physical copies of everything that had come out this year from Free League Publishing. And I had mentioned, hey, there's really only two things. One, the Walking Dead universe, which, as I mentioned, there'd been some hiccup as far as getting that out. And then out like to retail and stuff like that. The backers have gotten it. It's just retailers haven't. I think it's a distribution problem. And one of the Ruins of Symborum releases. And that's it. I mean, I've shared content on everything that has come out. I've got more stuff coming. I've got some One Ring review. I have a One Ring adventure review and two Lord of the Rings role-playing reviews that are on the horizon. I think that's all I've got left from Free League Publishing. But I would have to say, I'm really curious to see the box set for the Blade Runner adventure. Is it Fiery Angels, I think it's called, if I remember correctly. I am very, very interested in that because I thought the adventure that came with the starter set, the box set, I thought was really, really well done. And all the images and stuff like that, the handouts were excellent. So this is supposedly a box set. So I'm curious about that. You know what? I don't know. Cobalt Press always has cool stuff that comes out, but I'm not sure about what they've got on the horizon. Hey, should mention, I will have my Harmmaster review soon. Ray Thing says, Shadow Dark sent a message today to say half the books are packed. They're just about to start fulfilling Kickstarters. Well, that's cool. Kevin King says, what do I think of Cobalt's strategy for Tales of the Valiant, filing the serial numbers off 5e and releasing it? Yeah, they've got their GM book coming to Kickstarter soon. Well, you know, I did the review of the alpha, and I have no issue with somebody doing a role-playing game that is built off the SRD. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you know, there is a reason why we've got this. I talk about it in my review. You know, you can't have a company where all of your product is built on another IP and running the risk that the owner of that IP is going to pull the rug out from under you at any moment. You can't survive like that. You've got to strike out on your own. So yes, now that the SRD is, I guess, considered Creative Commons, I don't have an issue with it. I don't like the fact that they were charging for the PDF for the playtest. That's not really something that companies do. So I did not like that. You know, I mentioned that in my review. So, but I really like Cobalt Press, and I really like Wolfgang Bauer. He's always super nice to talk with, always willing to set me up with whatever I want. So that's always good too. But I'll wait till it comes out. And then if I get a copy, which I would assume I will, I'll review it. I'll share my review of it. And you know me, I will tell you what I think. So you know, if I dislike something that's from a company that I'm pretty tight with, I don't tend to try to, you know, I try to word things less mean than I would if it was just something that I bought myself and I was like, what kind of piece of shit is this? Firing Mike Merles this week didn't help. So Coco B asked, do I think Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro is going to mess up the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons? All depends on what this 50th anniversary edition is. I don't know. I gotta say, I think I'm on the outs anyway with Wizards of the Coast. So it's not like I'm going to see that when it comes out unless I go buy it. I don't know that for sure. But you know what? I'm tired of their bullshit. I really am. This nonsense where it's like, oh, well, you know, you shove your tongue up our ass, so we're going to, here you go, here's a review copy of it before it comes out. But if you're honest with your audience, then it's like, yeah, you know, maybe we'll get this to you a month after it hits stores. Oh, and then you don't have to review it. It's just, we just want to give you a copy because we appreciate all that you do. Well, no, you don't. You don't appreciate what I do. Brian Grunberg said they were surprised Mike Merle still worked for Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. Weren't they severing ties with him a long time ago? And then everybody found out that, hey, you know what? He's still working there. John Snyder's with us. Welcome aboard. Flaming Heron says Wizards of the Coast have killed any goodwill they might have had. Anyway, as far as like screwing it up, I don't think they're going to completely screw the pooch on that. I don't expect the new edition. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a new edition, which, sorry, in my opinion, not releasing a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons is idiotic, in my opinion. Because now they're like, oh, well, it'll be like 5.5. Bullshit. Make a new edition. What are you, cowards? Just make it where it's relatively compatible with the previous releases. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Coco BS, how's my family of spiders? I saw a couple of spiders the other day, but now it's gotten colder again. So haven't seen them in a while. All right. One more question. Hit me up with one more question. I might do this from time to time with the dispatch since we aren't doing the first looks anymore. So, Rexfell's 19 says, well, Matt, don't forget to leave a like. Well, thank you very much for reminding everybody. If you have an opportunity, make sure to not only like this video, but come back and comment on it, because comments really go a long way towards YouTube sharing this on people's feeds. Brian says, WotC did such an amazing job with the 30th anniversary of Magic the Gathering. Yeah, well, just like I've pointed out, I would actually like to either get copies of old D&D stuff off of eBay that wouldn't be like insanely pricey. Rexfell says it's $69. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I don't know. I was like, aren't X's 10s and stuff? I don't know. I forget my Roman numerals. Anyway, I was about to say I would actually like to share videos of like old D&D stuff. If I could find it at a relatively decent price. Now, I know Dungeon Masters Guild does do print on demand stuff. So if I wanted to do a look at, say, the Moldvay Basic, Expert, stuff like that, I can get those. I think they're like $15 each. But you also have to keep in mind, I am on like such a shoestring budget. Such a shoestring budget here. So I'm even sitting there going, oh, I mean, can I afford the $15? As weird as it sounds, but you got to remember, I don't do Kickstarters. I'm not sitting here with Patreons. I know some people get pissed off because I mentioned PayPal.me once during the show. It's like, yeah, well, okay. Yeah. Travis Williams says, comment for the algorithm. Yes, the powers that be over at YouTube. Yes, so there's a discussion of somebody who got the booster packs that hadn't been released yet. Yeah, we know that story. Yeah. Sorry, the Pinkertons, what, you still exist? Didn't you like blow up Jesse James's house? How are you guys still around? The Pinkerton Eye. All righty. Okay, so got to once again point out the episodes of the Dispatch going forward will not be an hour and a half long. And we lucked out. We did not have any interruptions. We may have seen a few frames drop. Yeah. We got some, not terrible, but there are some. But shows are probably going to run 45 minutes to an hour at most. So the gaming news will probably be about 30 minutes. And then if nothing's really cooking in the world of gaming, that'll probably be it for the show. But if something is, we will talk about it. I will mention one last thing since I have not gotten another question. And I apologize if people have thrown out some questions there that I've missed, or you emailed me questions that I unfortunately had in the teleprompter, but when the power went out, it was like, oops. I figured I didn't want to waste time searching those down and putting them back into the teleprompter because you would have all gone to sleep or gone out and had a beer or something like that. Travis Williams says, they'd love to see stuff about OG D&D and AD&D. For me, that's when the game was at its best. Oh, you know what? I forgot to answer the one question about my favorite role-playing game item that I own. I would have to say it's my AD&D books that I picked up on eBay a few years ago because I got them at decent prices and they are in pretty darn good shape. I mean, they're not fantastic. They don't look like they just came off the bookshelf at the bookstore. But I got a pretty good deal on those. Now, I will also point out one of my like favorite items that I have like board game wise is I actually have the Monster That Ate Sheboygan from the magazine when it came out, because SPI had the box game of the Monster That Ate Sheboygan, because I had it way back in the day. And I don't have the magazine that came with it, but yes, I got, it's a little, maybe I'll share it, take a peek at it when we return early next year. So one last thing I was going to point out is I know some people were kind of curious about I guess there was stuff showing up at Ollie's outlet for D&D. So there was the Warriors of Kryn, that big box set, the box board game, which I think, if I remember right, if it's the special edition, then it comes with the Dragonlance book. And it was selling for $100. And I guess Ollie's, they're like a liquidation store, is selling them for $10. They had some of the D&D, the terrain cases, which I showed, which I was not impressed by. And they were like 50 or $60. I think they were selling them for $3 or $4. And then there were also some various different action figures from the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, as well as the Dungeons and Dragons movie. And those were selling for about half price. So people were curious, oh, is Wizards of the Coast in trouble? I don't think so, because the reality is most companies have way too much inventory. And Warriors of Kryn, that board game sucked. I didn't even bother reviewing it because I was like, you know what? I'm already saying Dragonlance isn't very good. I don't want to feel like I'm piling on. So I was like, yeah, I'm not even going to bother reviewing this. But I have made reference to it not being good in the past. So essentially what happened is Hasbro's sitting on this stock. It costs money to store this stuff. So it costs money to destroy this stuff. So the best thing to do is if a liquidator comes to you and says, hey, you know what, we'll buy 20,000 units of that, but we're going to give you pennies on the dollar, you take it. And I think that's what happened. I didn't realize, I actually have an Ollie's not far from my brother's house. I am actually going to swing over there on Thursday because Elliot, my brother, and I, and maybe even Elliot's son, are going to get together. And we're not playing Call of Cthulhu, but we'll probably play some board games of some sort. And we're going to exchange gifts, Elliot and I. But I'm going to swing over there. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a look to see if although I think the action figures are like $10, I am going to take a look to see if they've got any of the original, like from the cartoon, because they do make that cameo in the movie. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, which I thought was fine. I thought it was a perfectly fine movie. I didn't think it was terrible. In fact, I should watch it again. I only watched it once. Travis Williams says, luckily they still have their AD&D books. Well, most. They've got their Dark Sun content, but their Menzo Berenzin box set seems to have gotten lost over the years. I wish I had all the games that I've had. Well, there was a point in time I really didn't follow board games and that, but from like before I got into high school and in high school and college, stuff like that, I wish I had all that stuff because it was like, holy cow. So Matthew Constantine says the closest Ollie's to them is about a 90-minute drive, and we don't own a car. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't believe you can buy stuff online from them. So anyway, but yeah, the whole Hasbro thing, Wizards of the Coast thing, they're trying to get out of books too, as Brian points out. They want digital content. So this is just another thing that kind of pushes them in that direction. Thing is, normally you don't see books at liquidators because booksellers can return books to the publisher. Can't return games and stuff. Doomed Colonist is with us. Matt Weens, hopefully I'm close to pronouncing that correctly. Thank you very much for the congratulations on 1,000 shows. Got to be honest, I never thought I'd hit this number. Doop. There was a point in time when we were approaching 500 where I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to keep going. Sometimes when I see the numbers of views and it's kind of like, really 197 and I had a first look at a game in it. But then I also sit there and think, I enjoy doing this. I would miss a lot of you. So, all right, that is it for this time out. Thank you very much for hanging with me. Man, what a disaster the early part of this evening was trying to get this show out there. Thankfully, we pulled it off without a hitch for the fourth or fifth time to try it. Anyway, hopefully all of you out there have wonderful holiday seasons. I will not be back with a live stream until January 2nd, which is a Tuesday. So the dispatch will return then with its new format of sharing the tabletop gaming news and maybe discussing what's going on in the hobby Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. All righty. So if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Comment if you have an opportunity as well. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, do not forget to ring that bell, because not only is it going to let you know when the dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of the Pathfinder Remastered Player Core from Paizo Inc. Once again, just because I'm on a holiday break from doing the live show does not mean you will not find more news over at thegaminggang.com, as well as more videos here as well. If you're watching live, thank you very much. You had to deal with a lot of issues tonight, so I appreciate your patience. That is for sure. If you took part in chat watching live, big tip of the cap, because not only do you keep me company, you also keep each other company as well. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Once again, everybody have a wonderful holiday season. I will be back January 2nd, knock on wood. And of course, until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.